3 reasons why anyone, including and perhaps especially you, can start a reselling business. I'm going to break it down for you guys. If you don't know, it's Jeremy here, your favorite reselling coach at school.com/reselling. I'm going to break it down super simply. The first reason is there's no time requirement, aka anyone with any schedule. You can have a full-time job. You could work 70 hours a week. You could, no matter how much time you have, you could start a reselling business, because in reselling, no one's paying you to be available. No one's paying you to be open for 60 hours a week as a store. You don't have to do that. People are paying you for an item. They're paying you for an item. And if you want to get real bold with the launch, you don't even have to be the one to sell the things. You could just start the business, own the business, and you could hire some people to work for 15 bucks an hour to do all the meetups and do all the messaging for you. I've done it. You could do it too. So you don't need time. You don't need time. And a lot of businesses, most businesses that you were to start, would require a pretty high touch from you, like a pretty involved effort, a pretty high cost of sweat equity. And with reselling, it's just not the case. It's not the case at all. The items sell themselves, particularly if you're selling them for a good discount off of retail price. And you can work as much as you want, of course, but you can work as little as you want. I got to over 100K a year profit run rate working 1 day a week in reselling. And so totally possible. I'm not some crazy, I don't even know. There's so much about reselling I don't even know yet. This is super, super possible for you guys. So it fits within your lifestyle, fits within the whatever amount of time you have to give, you can give to it, and you can make money doing it. Another big reason is there's no startup capital required. There are ways to get involved with reselling that don't cost a lot of money. Of course, if you want capital, there are also a lot of ways to get free or super cheap capital that I teach in my coaching group. But even if you didn't have any capital, you can get involved in reselling starting in one of two ways from a super grassroots level. One is start selling some of your own stuff to raise a little bit of funds, and then you just roll that into higher value inventory that you can sell for more, and you roll that and you roll that and you roll that, and all of a sudden you're growing revenue like pretty bonkos. The other way that's even faster is you sell on consignment. You sell other people's stuff for them, you take a commission, so you never had to buy a single thing. And there's no overhead, there's no marketing spend, there's no overhead. And so with that, you don't need a bunch of space. You could do this from your garage. If you don't have a garage, you could absolutely do this from your bedroom in an apartment. You don't need something to start a reselling business. You can start at any level. If you are in an apartment, probably before too long, you'll end up wanting to rent out a little storage unit, a little cube unit, but you don't have to do that. You could make a great amount of money selling from your apartment. No doubt about it. And you can store more value than you think, because most things that are worth a lot are small. They're small things. You don't need a big warehouse to have small things. You know what I mean? You could have $100,000 of inventory in your closet. Easy. I mean, you don't want to pack it pretty efficiently, unless it's a bar of gold, which if you can find those on liquidation, let me know, because I'll scoop those up for show. Regardless, you don't need a ton of space. The third reason why anyone, including you, can start a reselling business is you don't need prior business experience. There's two things that business experience usually does that helps someone in starting a business. One is it builds trust with your customers, with your clients. Another is it helps you in the business process. Or let me say, prior experience often gives you skills and perspectives needed in order to operate the business. So for example, let's say you're a creative and you produce X, Y, or Z product or service. If you've never done that before, you don't have prior experience, it's going to be super hard to start a business where you do that. Like if you've never painted before and all of a sudden you're like, I'm an artist, I paint things, it's going to be hard to be able to charge a premium value for the artwork you create. And it's going to be hard to not feel like an imposter as well, which I talked about in an earlier video. Um, and and really with any skill-based business, you're going to want to already have developed that skill before you really leg into a business, right? You'd want to have that skill, and hopefully you develop that skill just from a place of passion. The other thing that experience does is it enhances trust, like I said. So let me just explain this or contrast this with my RIA, my Registered Investment Advisory. So some of you guys know I manage money for people, and when I manage money for people, or let's say like someone reaches out, they're interested in becoming a client, it's very often that someone wants to know, what's my experience? And they want to know that because it adds a level of safety and security to them. It increases the perceived value that they have of my services. And I'm not the most experienced person by any means. I'm 29 years old, right? But at least I can say something. I can say, well, I got a bachelor's in finance from Texas A&M. I have I worked for a year and 3 months at Northwestern Mutual, and I've self-managed my personal investments for over a decade now. And now every year that goes on, I can say, and I've been open as a firm for X amount of years, and I have X amount of clients, etc. And here's what's crazy. They don't want to just know how long have you been doing it. They want to know how well have you been doing it. Like, what are your returns, right? Like, show me your track record. It's not even just have you been in business. That's a high bar, and thankfully I can answer those questions with a high level of clarity and conviction, knowing that anyone that hires me, like, they're going to get a great value. But if I didn't have that, it'd be hard to start an RIA, right? If I wasn't managing my own money, if I never studied finance, if I didn't have a little bit of industry experience, it'd be a lot harder to start a business where that's what I do. And a lot of businesses are like that, where that experience is necessary to boost your customer base. And I will say, after selling at this point about $500,000 so far in revenue, $500,000 of sales through reselling, I don't think anyone, when they come to buy something, let's say they're messaging me on eBay or they're messaging me on Facebook Marketplace, who knows how many thousands and thousands of messages I've responded to at this point. I don't think I have gotten a single message ever that was, how long have you been doing this? You know, like, tell me, where did you learn about reselling? What's your degree in? Like, never. Now, sometimes when people come into the warehouse and they see like they thought they were picking up one item and they realize that there's a lot of stuff, they might be like, whoa, how long have you been doing this? Like, how long have you been here? I didn't know that you were here. I want to come back around. But it's not like do I think that this item is more or less valuable based on how long you have been selling items in general? No, 0%. 0% in reselling. So you don't need that experience to develop customer trust. Don't get me wrong, like, experience does help. Like, for example, the longer that you sell stuff, the more reviews you're going to get. And if you have a lot of good reviews, that hopefully would help you be able to sell stuff more in the future. So it doesn't hurt to have experience, but you don't need it at all to enhance customer trust when you're just selling one item to one person. And the skills, like, there aren't any intrinsic skills because the product is the business and you didn't make the product. The only skill that is refined over time is the skill of sourcing and the skill of selling. How do you source better, cheaper? How do you sell faster, higher? And that's exactly what I coach. But you don't need, intrinsically, you don't, like, anyone with like with both sides of their brain still in their head, like you can buy stuff and sell it for more. It's not complicated. When if you like, you don't need to. I'm not talking about going to garage sales and like finding this random antique coin that's secretly worth $10,000 and they didn't know, and oh my gosh, this was used in Japan in the 1300s, and like you don't need to know anything. Just bring a phone with you if you're going to go to garage sales, which by the way I would never recommend doing. It takes way too much time. There's 10 times as many people fighting over 10% of the profit if you're talking about waiting outside of lines of Goodwill and going to garage sales and estate sales. Like you're fighting a lot harder for a lot less dollars that way. But if you get into reselling the way I coach, it's like you already provided you already provided the retail value before you even make a decision on if you want to buy it or not. Like it's right there. And if you really want to fact check it, just Google it. And then boom, that's what it's worth. So you're buying it for this, and the store goes for that. If you want to take a ton of time, just do one more Google search and see what it's going for used on eBay. You're like, okay, great. If I buy it for this, it's selling for that on used on eBay. Like, simple. I'm being a little long-winded on the third point here, but there really is no prior experience needed, and there really is for a lot of other businesses. And so that's a wrap, guys. There's 3 with the bonus being the space. No time needed, no capital needed, no space needed, and no prior experience needed. So like what? So let's do it, right? Reselling, it's a great business for that reason. Anyone can start a reselling business. I do believe that. All right, that's all I got for you on this one. Catch you later.